Hey everybody, long time no see. I know I said that I would try to make more videos a few months back, and that didn't really wind up happening. A lot of things kind of happened in my real life, related to my job and related to other things that I'm doing. So I unfortunately was not able to put out that Broly guide, and I guess good thing for it, because we got a brand new Dragon Ball FighterZ patch, and it is a patch. But not only is it a patch, it is probably the most fun I have had on DBFZ in a really, really long time. I'm going to talk about it a little bit later. I know that there's a fair number of like legacy Dragon Ball players who are not pleased with the direction that the game has taken. And I definitely can understand that. There are certain aspects of the game's current direction where I'm like, you know, I feel like we could have done without this, but we're down this rabbit hole now, and I still really love Dragon Ball at its core, so I'm just going to keep playing it, right? But some people didn't want to put up with that. I'll talk about that a little bit later, but I feel like of all of these like patches where they made these insane, crazy changes, this is the one where it really feels like it has direction. So, you know, I was talking about this with some other DBFZ players, particularly from the West Coast, about how you know, a lot of characters got Omega buffed. I made this tweet where I was like, okay, here are all of the major winners of this patch that I think are there. And I listed over a dozen characters, and there were still people in my comments being like, hey man, where's this main? Where's my character? Where's this character? And this is not me like knocking or complaining on them, but it just goes to show that like even among the characters where I'm like, wow, you know, these characters really improved, there were still even more characters where it was like they got really big changes and things that they really needed. And I feel like there was a certain sense of direction in that. And it wasn't just a matter of characters getting really huge buffs on their own, but that characters that might have been rendered like obsolete or like less viable because these other characters were getting these mega buffs also got their own mega buffs to help them kind of keep up. Like a good example that I brought up was that, you know, Z-Broly has real mediums now. He has real mediums, an anti-reflect, a safe on block medium. And so, you know, I used to say on Twitter, like, well, if you gave Z-Broly real mediums, there wouldn't really be much reason to run him over like Super Broly, which is, you know, as you guys know, the one I tend to play a little bit more, though I still love Z-Broly a lot. And so I feel like they thought about this. And so what did they do? They gave Z-Broly better frame data. They gave him safe normals. He has a safe 5L, a safe 5M, a safe 2M that now is a true frame trap with the second stomp into a -1 2M. He has faster grabs. EX grab is now unreactable. And so, yeah, so it's like this character, they are different. There are different approaches to the grappler style, but they have their own unique approaches, and they aren't rendered obsolete by one another. It's not a sort of situation where it's like, oh, well, if you want to do this, play this character instead of this character. Now you can, like, you know, you can pick both, you can pick one or the other, and it's like, you're not really at a lesser advantage for it. I really liked that. I liked that they made blocking sparking -5. I think that makes that situation so much more manageable than it used to be. When it was -1 on block, it never felt very consistent as far as like, oh, I blocked spark, I'm gonna press, I'm gonna make sure it's my turn, right? Some characters you could press on anyways, other characters you couldn't press on anyways. Now the person who blocks the spark, it's definitely their turn, and I think that's a fantastic change. A lot of the characters that I had at the top of the tier list, I know I have my old tier list, but nowadays I probably use this tier list by my friend Kineko in relation to how strong the characters were in patch 1.38. The top 3 characters in particular, and some of the characters below, namely Beerus, really did get a bunch of the nerfs that they needed. I know that Nappa didn't get any nerfs, and 17 didn't get any nerfs, and some people were kind of hoping for that. Unfortunately, we still have to deal with them running amok. But also, so many more characters, I feel, are on their kind of level. I really feel like we're in an age of DBFZ right now where I can't really say for certain, like, okay, who is the clear up in front bad characters right now? Maybe a better player than me would be able to pick that out right away. But I think about characters like Majin 21 or Z-Broly or GT Goku or Hit or Kid Buu. All these characters that used to really, really, really struggle, and now they're like really, really, really good. Blue Goku is really, really, really good. Obviously, there are some breakaway characters that are definitely you can tell they are way better than they were even last patch. Beerus, he lost his DP, but the new changes to his key orbs is insane. Majin 21, I think that goes without saying. That character, she is so back, and I am so happy that she is back. I am happy that Z-Broly is back. I am happy that there are so many characters and so many team compositions that you can try and run in this game now, without feeling like you're at a huge disadvantage. I feel like this patch really successfully brought the cast closer together in terms of power level, and I would say that these are controversial patches, to be sure, for a lot of the community members. But I would say that overall, this was a very, very successful patch in my eyes, at least as far as this direction of the game. So, speaking of this direction of the game, and this was a sort of secondary thing I wanted to talk about for this little update video. There's been a bit of discourse online over whether or not this patch or this direction of the game is good. And I think that, obviously as somebody who has fun with the patch and still has fun with Dragon Ball, I like it, right? But I don't think I would consider myself as someone who is deaf to the plights of the people who don't enjoy the game. I read something, I think maybe it was Shad L who said it, or Alucard, or someone along those lines. Someone who used to really, really, really love DBFZ, doesn't really love what has happened to it now, and their way of describing it is that I was patched out of the game. The way I like to play the game is gone. I liked the game the way it was the way it was in those first 3 or 4 years. And these more recent 4 years have just been the things that I loved about the game going away. And I think that even if you do like the current version of the game, there is absolutely a degree to which things from the old days that were good and were interesting about Dragon Ball have gone away. Now, I will say, my big fat asterisk for sympathizing with the people who are complaining about DBFZ in its current state is this. If you heard that there was a new balance patch and you're taking this new balance patch as a giant opportunity to constantly shit on the game and go into active Dragon Ball communities who are trying to find what they can do with this patch just to kind of shit on the patch and not contribute anything else, the first thing is, I don't know what else you were expecting. I don't know why you would think that patch 1.40, 4 years into this direction of Dragon Ball, was going to be anything but more insanity and more buffs and more raising the general power level of the characters. There's obviously good ways and bad ways to do that, but we knew as soon as we saw balance adjustments that everyone was getting buffed again. We knew it. We knew it from the outset. We knew there would be people who would be buffed a lot. We knew there would be characters who would not be buffed a lot. I actually was very surprised that we had characters that kind of got straight nerfs. Like, I mean, Vegito and Trunks, I mean, they might have gotten some small good changes, but overall, it seems like a lot of them really got nerfed. The second thing is that for the people who are still interested in DBFZ, this is actually the second part of the little asterisk. For the people who are interested in DBFZ and still interested in competing in DBFZ, don't go. I really hope that, and this isn't like for everybody, because I know that there are some critics of DBFZ's current direction who mostly just, they speak on Twitter, they speak on their public platforms. That's perfectly fine. But don't go into like active Discords or active places and just do nothing but bitch. Because if you aren't playing the game and you aren't trying to like find anything to contribute to like tech or exploring the patch or anything like that, then you're just being a negative influence. And whether some of the critics of modern DBFZ like to admit it or not, this has an effect on the people who are willing to run tournaments and host events for Dragon Ball in its current state. Obviously I understand that when people are like, let the game die, they don't mean like the community needs to stop supporting the game. They mean that the patches and official support for the game needs to go, so that the game can kind of develop on its own instead of just being constantly like turned upside down. But yeah, I have it on word from people running DBFZ tournaments online that this is something that actually gets under their skin and actually prevents them from hosting tournaments. I think it was when Community Edition came out that King Lord Beerus tried to host a Community Edition tournament. And the first tournament, like the day one official like first tournament of CE had like 15 entrants. I have seen like I've seen more entrants in like typical modern Dragon Ball tournaments, right? There's nothing wrong with having an issue with what modern Dragon Ball has become. There's nothing wrong with wanting to try other versions of the game or like see what other visions of the game were. I just really, really, really hope that just because you're critical of the game doesn't mean that you're banging down the doors of other people who are trying to enjoy it, right? I've seen critics of the current direction of Dragon Ball who are perfectly civil in the way that they do it. But I definitely have seen other critics of Dragon Ball who are just kind of going out of their way to try and bring the vibe down in communities. Now, in defense of some of these critics, I will say there's also been a couple what I would call disingenuous notions towards fighting games and towards Dragon Ball in particular. Obviously, some older fighting games are broken, right? Like, a big one that DBFZ gets compared to, or modern DBFZ gets compared to, is Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And a proven point that you would see in this discourse is that Marvel vs. Capcom 3 was released the way it was. It was not it was released as kind of a broken, everyone is broken kind of game. And Dragon Ball was not released like that. Dragon Ball was this very, like, I mean, it always had bullshit, right? I mean, you had Season 1, you had DP Assist, you had original Ghost Oki, you had Prime 16, Prime Bardock, Prime Gotenks, Prime Gohan, Prime Kid Buu. You had Season 2, you had Snap Loops, which was the slowest state of the game, mind you, barring maybe Prime Lab Coat. I don't understand anybody who wants to go back to Season 2 besides you just want to play Piccolo and, insert mix character here and just mix. But, I see a lot of fondness for Season 3, and I think that's a little understandable. But yeah, I mean, it was a much more tame game in its early days. And combos were less explosive. They were simpler but more restrictive, and so you had to be like really, really you had to be really, really creative with what you did. Nowadays, I mean, that's not really there as much. I mean, I like a lot of the changes that Modern Dragon Ball has made, at least especially with this patch. But there's no denying that in many ways, some combos have just gotten a lot easier, that it's better to dumb your combos down to accommodate for new changes than to try to accommodate new changes into your older complex routes. A really good example of this is Majin 21's Moonjump route. I used to use her Moonjump route as her B&B. I would practice this for hours and hours and hours, and I would do this over and over and over again. Actually, let me pull her up here. Okay, so I would practice that route for hours and hours and hours and hours, right? And this was the optimal route. You would do this for solo routes, you would do this for assisted routes, you would go on and on and on with that route. But nowadays, there's just no reason not to do this route. There's no reason not to just do special super dash airstring with the new key blasts. The hours of practice that I dedicated to the moon jump rejump was patched out, right? Now, as a competitor, you know, I kind of don't care, right? I shouldn't say I don't care. Obviously, combos are my favorite part of Dragon Ball. And I'm a little sad every time when it's like, okay, well, I found this new optimal, but it's easier and it's not as fun as the old routes, right? And maybe that's not true for all characters, but it's definitely true for several of my characters, or the characters that I like. And so I think that there's definitely an understanding that, like, not only is the game more explosive now, which is definitely something, I mean, it's fine that it's faster, but it's also just easier to get that explosive damage. There isn't really as much of like an execution barrier. We have things that I think are genuinely issues with this patch, especially hit. Hit just kind of seems, I don't know what they're going to do about that pseudo infinite thing. They're probably going to ban it, but we'll see. But yeah, I mean, as funny as it is to like watch Goku Black EX dive kick over and over and over again, and by the way, there really isn't a reason for him to do that. He could probably, the video of him doing that, he probably could have just supered or meter dumped supers at any point and also have killed. But like, you know, you see Bardock doing, you know, 2-3 success assist, 2-3 success assist, 2-3 success assist, 2-3 success assist. You'll see, what was it, GT doing, you know, lariat, 5H lariat assist, 5H lariat assist, 5H lariat assist into Spirit Bomb or all his supers and all that crap, right? Like, characters like spending Spark, yes, a one-time resource, but basically just looping the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again to get a kill. You know, they're funny. I won't lie. I mean, they're funny, but like, as far as like execution demanding, I wouldn't call them that. You know, the game. I do, like I said, I think the patch is really fun. I said this on Twitter, and then I immediately saw Kasuga being like, "This is dog shit," and they made it 10 times more dog shit. But I do think that, like, you know, as far as this discourse goes, I think that there's points to both sides. And my opinion, my hard stance that I'm going to take on it is this. If you don't like the current direction of the game, that's fine. If you have issues with the current direction of the game, that's perfectly okay. If you like the game, that's okay. If you think that this direction is great, that's okay. But I think that there's a certain degree of like come on man to the Doomers, and almost disingenuousness to like some of the people trying to defend how crazy this game gets sometimes. Because yes, the game is crazy. Not everybody wanted it to be crazy. So I think just, I don't know, it just feels simple. If you like the game, then just keep playing it. And if you don't like the game, if you think it's crap, then just move on. I know that's like a hard thing for some players to hear because Dragon Ball was their favorite fighting game. And, you know, it's hard to make another game that's really going to be quite like Dragon Ball. But dwelling on this constantly and fighting with people constantly cannot be a good use of your time, in my opinion. Anyways, so the last thing that I want to touch on is my channel update, or rather, what's going on with my channel, because I had said, oh, I'm gonna try to upload more videos, and then I completely didn't do that. So with the Broly guide, I mean, they're making a new patch every year. I think what I'm going to do with the Broly guide, I'm probably not going to do a comprehensive guide. I'm probably going to stick to a combo guide. I'm going to release my optimals, a couple notes on how to perform them if they're a little tough for some players, and call it a day. Maybe what I'll do as far as like general stuff is make a Google Doc for my character Discourse, because I run the Broly Discord, I run the 21 Discords. But I think I put it off for years and years and years, and now it's finally here, and it's halfway done. Like the guide is halfway done, and I would have to completely redo it because half the information in there that is littered throughout the video is just wrong now. Super Broly has safe frame data. He has some really strong. He is a much more effective anchor now, in my opinion. That was one of the big things I talked about in the video. I'm like, oh, you should never run a Broly anchor. Well, I mean, now you kind of can if you want. He can be pretty juiced as an anchor if you want to try him. So I'm gonna try to maybe do the Broly combo video guide, and then I want to work on a Labco video. I want to kind of do Labco in the new patch. If I do any, I might dump a lot of my old clips, or rather, I'm showing my old clips from last patch over this video. But I hope that you guys will. I thank you guys for sticking around with me and being patient with me. I still plan to release some Marvel Rivals content. I know that I'm not really particularly known for Marvel Rivals, but I've taken a lot of clips, and I feel like I should do something with them while they're sitting around on my computer taking up space. And then I'm gonna carry on with Dragon Ball, and who knows? Maybe I'll do like a tier list video, or maybe some challenges or something like that. But I'm gonna try to focus and do things as I go along. So thank you guys for tuning in. I am not giving up on my YouTube channel, I promise you. It's just things are a little slow. My editing is a very glacial editing style, and hopefully we can get on to more things in the future. All right, I'll see you guys around.